Hey everyone, it is Wednesday morning, and I'm grabbing my stock. Mark's been here. I'm gonna head in process, and I'm gonna do a little. I got the service trailer here too. I'm gonna do a little in the cab processing video today. And I'll get some more talking in there. So why don't you guys hold on? I'll be back. Alright, we're gonna put some burn chain oil in here. I don't know what you guys can see because couldn't get my phone to hook up to the app to see what I was looking at. You can see I lost the cover for that. A little rainy out this morning. Put some spilt a little there. Put some barn chain oil in and then get to business. You can hear Wes in the background over there. He's getting some hardwood. And I walked the processor up here so it'd be a little closer. I didn't walk it all the way out to the yard. So I didn't have to. This place is loaded with ferns. Sweet, took exactly 2 gallons. There's my little empty barn chain oil holder. Tighten that a little so it doesn't come off. Now we'll get to work. I'll be back. Okay, well, we're bellied up to the first bit of wood here. Yellow birch. And I'm gonna try to do some narrating here on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and how I'm doing it. Those of you might be interested. So, which all this is second nature, so it's a much different thing to narrate or to explain while you're doing it. It actually is harder than you would think. You're kind of, or I find myself fumbling a little bit. So anyways, I'm gonna try and take a stab at it so I can explain it to somebody who might be interested in running forestry equipment processor, or people who care because they're interested. So this could be good or it could be crud. Anyway, in saying that, this kind of comes up because I think we're getting pretty close. I mean, I'm kind of looking around now at trying to find somebody to run this processor so that I can have more time to run the processor and do other things. I just don't have enough time trying to do both. Streamline production, we still have a little bit of a hiccup in between jobs. You know, finishing a job, starting a job, which sometimes if you don't recover quickly, it can kind of really screw up a couple, 2 or 3 weeks production. And if we had a third guy, that would kind of solve that. So that's part of the reason for this video. Now on to trying to narrate this. So you'll see as I'm doing here. So I probably should start with the next tree, but I was talking to Wes about it this morning, and I probably have unrealistic expectations at time of, if bringing somebody on and how quickly I want them, or I feel like they should get up to speed. When when I think about it, I've got probably 30,000 hours or more running a processor, and all these little things that I'm doing are just second nature, and it's really even hard to kind of describe while you're doing it because it's just stuff that you do. So it's kind of interesting. You'll see like that yellow birch was kind of a crotchety limity tree, so I basically will, depending on the tree, you know, there's no sense to pick it up and ram into the first crotch and then have to drop it and cut that crotch off and then keep doing that. Where like a tree like that, you saw I grabbed it, I pulled it ahead, and I saw it off, cut the first big crotch, and then pulled it ahead more, and kind of cut all the crotches off, the big branches that I'm processing now, and then I pushed the main trunk of the tree back out, processed that, and then went ahead and processed these bigger branches or crotches. You know, otherwise you're just kind of creating more work for yourself, because you're just handling stuff too much. And you'll see as I go along here, I'll just speak to this machine where you've got to deal with your brush, and you'll see as I go I keep moving it to the side here. So I've got that pocket of brush on the other side, and I'm kind of processing off to the side here where I've got kind of the woods out of the way. If you processed it too far up that way, you'll make more work for yourself. This is a rock maple, and that's the other thing for somebody that wants to learn, is gonna, you know, figuring out your species, and that's a whole nother challenge. Your species and your specs. You'll see it. So this top is really like, what do you do with it? If you're a new operator, and you'll see right here, sometimes I bring the tree up and set it on the track, that way I can access it real easy. So I look at that tree and see the top, and see what, well, is there something I can get out of it? So I'm going to try to make, because if you don't cut the right crotches off, then you're not making a piece you can really do much with. So this, I'm sawing all these off, and then I'll get this one kind of cruddy longer piece. So and it's the straightest piece. So you see that right there? So I worked it up to something that Wes can pick up, put in the hardwood pulp. And if you hadn't left that 1 liter that I left on there, it really, you would have made a kind of a piece of junk you couldn't do anything with. So then, you know, there's only a couple trees there, so the brush is more of a hassle when the wood's thicker. But you'll see how I grab that, put it in front of me, and then I'll take these few pieces and I'll go over here, and I kind of keep grabbing with the knives until I think, and sometimes you got to get a little closer because the angle of the head, so you can kind of reach down through and get everything. So you see I pick this up and then I put it crosswise so we can run over it, and that's what you do with your brush when you're done. Flotation, sometimes you'll, you know, if you're, some of the other things that I do, you know, if there's a stump or a rock, I might place the brush in a spot where it'll make it easier for Wes. And you'll see right here, you know, as you're going along too, you're trying to, you know, get the processor on steady ground. It's kind of, if you're teeter-tottering, it makes it real hard to process smoothly. You'll see the cedar here, nothing we could do with it, so we'll cut it up and put it in the trail, use it as some trail fodder. And sometimes you can use, like right there where I'm dipping down in, now I'm on that cedar, it stabilizes the processor so I can process the wood. You know, now, you know, wood like this is nice, easy hardwood pulp. Also, these 2 buttons right here are what changed my preset. So I'm gonna go down 2 clicks, and now I'm on pulp preset. And the other thing, like, as you're processing, I'm always, if you pay attention to my knives, at least with this machine, smaller wood maybe not as much, but you're always moving them. If you pay attention to me processing, you'll see those knives opening and closing, and you know, I'll be looking at, you know, a crook or a branch, and you, the way that you open and close those knives are going to allow it to either ride over something or limb it better. You can't, it's not just going to limb every branch it gets to, and if you open or close it a little bit, that'll make the difference. This is just a big ugly popple. Of course, it's not going to limb that branch right there, so you've got to get up here and limb it, and you, once you get used to the angle of the head and stuff, you kind of know, even if you can't see the bar, where the saw is. So you kind of see that was nice and clean, and it might limb that next popple's not. Yep, see. So the idea is that you wouldn't have picked up that tree, sawed that one crotch off, and then roared down to that stub that was sticking up, not be able to limb it and have to drop it again. So you've kind of got to get calibrated to know what the head can do and not do. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of unnecessary time. And I mean, I guess that's part of my experience running this equipment for so many hours, and with the prospect of maybe hiring another guy. You know, now that I'm doing a video and talking to you guys about it, there is a lot to it, and it's not rocket science, but it is stuff that makes a good operator, and I probably take for granted just how much time in the seat I've had, and every tree is different. It'd be one thing if you were processing you know, like planted pine, or you know, I mean, in the southeast, a lot of it's kind of like processing corn stalks. They're all, well, maybe I'm generalizing, but to me they all kind of look the same, and I'm sure, you know, I'm sure that presents its own basket of issues there. But you know, this wood is so inconsistent, but I guess it's consistent in the fact that I'm used to processing this type of wood. So it's you know, and then there's nothing to get, so I might chop the top up a little bit and move on to the next one. Now, this piece here is small rock maple, and that's got a stick of firewood in it, so we'll take that stick of firewood and separate it in its own pile, so Wes knows, or it's obvious, you know, so here we're getting down to a top again. You'll see sometimes, all right, I'm just gonna get up there, cut it off like that, and you know, as long as I can get a 10-12 foot piece, I'm fine with that. I don't want to, you know, cut a bunch of 6 foot pieces. It doesn't really make any sense. It's hard to get on the forwarder and keep it on there, and just production wise. So. But it's just all the little motions. I was telling Wes, it'd be kind of like if you had like a caterpillar eating leaves on a, like if you know, like defoliating some sort of plant, and if you had a time-lapse recorder, you would watch them systematically chew all the leaves off until it was just solid stalk left. In reality, that's kind of what this is. So you'll go up and you'll see a lot of times you open up the knives and it's just how it clears the branches, and a lot of times you'll go past and then reverse, and when you come back through, the knives will pull the branches off the other way and reverse. And you've got to get rid of your brush. You'll see there I dropped it. If you get that brush in the head, it just gets caught up in things, and it'll I mean, I'm not worried about pulp as much, but it will mess up the measuring wheel. Like if you've got a piece of brush in there and you're trying to cut a log or something else, that will throw the measuring wheel off. That measuring wheel gets caught on it, and either it doesn't spin, or most of the time it won't spin or it's not measuring right. So you've always got to be paying attention to that too. So it's really, this wood isn't crazy complicated, but it's just, it's just not thinking about it. And you'll see there's not a, it's fluidity to be productive. Well, it's not just running a processor, but probably in any type of equipment situation, you've got to, we'll just stick to logging. Any type of logging equipment, you've got to be always moving. You're not going to get any production if you're going real fast and then sitting here like this and then getting back and then sitting. You got to always be moving and producing. That's how you get production. So nice brown ash there. So you'll see I kind of I just never really stopped. You're just kind of going, which is good. So part of wanting to maybe hire somebody else is that I can do it, but it's definitely a at times, I wouldn't necessarily say a challenge, but it is a challenge, but also a little stressful that I don't have enough time, because I have to make sure that I have enough processed ahead of Wes, so that when I, like here, I've got this one trail left to process. They're really long. It's taken me more than a day to do one trail with the processor. But I'm gonna cut a mat log here. Let me get the right spec, because that's not really a good hardwood log, and it'll make a mat log. So we'll make another pile there. So as part of the production, I have to make sure that I have enough wood ahead with the processor so that I can go run the buncher without Wes catching up to me, and then get back in the processor and get going again without stopping production. And that's where I start to not enjoy this as much, because it's just real tight, and it always seems to work out, but it doesn't leave a lot of time for me to do other things. And this is my job, but I have other stuff that needs to get done too. And it does affect production at times if things get too close. So the idea would be is that if I just have to focus on the buncher, there's never an issue with not having enough wood on bunched, and then once the operator, assuming the operator is up to speed, then there's never a problem for Wes, and then we're able to transition in between jobs without having the gaps, and that cash flow and production is really pretty efficient, streamlined. And I mean, that's what anybody wants to do in entrepreneurship or small business. That's not unique to logging. And if that works out good, there's some opportunity out there. I'll probably, if I have too much time, I'll probably try laying down wood for somebody. Even if they're not a huge producer, if I could maybe 1 week a month spread out however I want it, go lay wood down for somebody else, that would add a good amount of extra money coming in. That would be a different stream than this crew right here, and maybe potentially allow me at some point to be able to upgrade the buncher, which to something newer, which now to do it I'd kind of I'd own other stuff and do it because I could afford to, because I had no payments on this machine or something else. So rather than it's got enough work. You'll see here, if you pay attention, it's all the little tricks and things I do. You know, and for this little 501, it does pretty good. You know, the wood doesn't always look like, you know, I don't think it looks as, this isn't giant wood, but it doesn't look as big on camera. It's kind of interesting trying to describe the little things that you do while you're, you know, all this stuff that's second nature. I don't know. I know I've done a video like this before. I don't know if I've been so chatty on them, but I haven't done one for a while. And I got my drone out. My plan was to get some video with that this week, but the USB cord for that connects the phone to the controller is messed up, so I had to order one. See right here, sometimes you gotta frig around a little bit, getting the processor a little more level. I guess there's a rock there, but, and sometimes what I'll do is, like, the other thing to explain to somebody who hasn't run this before is there's not a lot of trees right there, so I just kick them out of the way and get the processor level. You know, you're always up on like a rock or something, or you know, it takes, there we go. And sometimes I'll, like, there's not much, there was only 3 or 4 trees there, and then there's a bigger bunch right here, so I'll come back here rather than frig around all topsy-turvy there. I'll grab them and then bring them up front here to this next pile and then process them up here. This is one of the nice things about a fixed head behind a buncher, because you have the ability to kind of shovel it a little bit. You know, like right there, I can just feed it up here, and I'll do that in the reverse too. If there was a you know, if there was a small pile here, I might drag it back to process in the pile that I last processed, just to kind of condense the wood rather than having just a few sticks or something. So we got a spruce right there, and I guess that's the other, you know, this machine does not have a diameter reader, and so for somebody new, you've really got to get honed in and calibrated on diameter. And it's a little easier with some stuff like that spruce right there. I think the minimum diameter is 5 inches, and it pays a lot better than softwood pulp, plus you can't even move softwood pulp right now, so you really want to try to get that down to that diameter as close as you can without getting it too small. And that is definitely a trained eye thing, and because I can surprisingly get it pretty darn close. And so for somebody new, that's another whole nother you know, like how do you do that? And I guess how you do that is you just say get out with the tape measure every so often, make sure your lengths are in line, and if you do that enough, hopefully you can kind of get an eye for it and go, yep, that looks right, and get yourself close enough where you're not putting a bunch of stuff too small in there or too big. So that is another part. But probably, of course I can't look at my phone here, so I'm assuming this video is getting a little longer. So we'll probably get close to getting done here. It's a bigger soft maple. It's pretty clear. It doesn't have a lot of heart. We'll cut some logs off that. We're gonna get into this. Soft maple's kind of hard. See, that's not a bad heart there, that'll be a saw log, not a pallet log. But a lot of times you'll go up and you'll cut that, the butt will be solid, and then you get up to cut that off, and then the center is kind of rotted. And like this, it's not. So a lot of times when you get to the top like that, then you can just lift up, you break off, just kind of pops, and you're not gonna get to break off that one. But so you'll see how I push the feed wheels against the other side, and it rolled the top where I could grab that smaller crotch. Well, I guess it did, see? But generally, and that's a lot of things, as you're working up these trees and there's a crotch or something where you don't want it, you can grab and you learn how to roll the tree. And that's a big trick that you will use a lot, figuring out how to, flop that tree one way or the other, so that you can saw a crotch off or whatever. Usually it's going to be sawing a crotch off, getting to a big branch that you can't limb without cutting it off. And you kind of saw me roll it there, so that's basically you're going to do that to stuff that doesn't split like that. But you see, it's a lot of going back and forth and working the tops and getting the branches to come off. I mean, if you enjoy like the production line type thing, like watching production and seeing it happen, this is kind of fun, because it is. If you had time lapse, you'd see this machine just doing this, and you do it 9-10 hours a day, and it's really kind of amazing how much wood you actually do cut. And you got guys all over the state that are doing the same thing, maybe a little different way. Everybody's got a little different way of doing it, and a little different style of operation, equipment, and but in the end it produces all the same thing. Well, alright guys, well, I'm assuming this video is getting up around 20 minutes or so, and I don't want to make it too long, and I can't really edit out a whole lot because I've been talking the whole time. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and my rant on trying to explain all the little tricks and how I do things. And I don't really know if it was a coherent ramble or just an incoherent ramble of madness. So anyways, let me know what you think, and like, subscribe, comment. We'll catch you later.